Good evening, this is the Oscar Expert here, and it's time to review Kiss of the Spider-Woman. This is from director Bill Condon, who is known for directing Dreamgirls, and it's a mid-budget musical that, for some reason, premiered at Sundance this year instead of a festival like Toronto, where it would have made a lot more sense. And so it kind of had me skeptical going in, thinking, like, is there a bad sign? Like, why is this premiering at Sundance? Doesn't seem like the right fit. But I will say that I was pleasantly surprised with the results. This is based on the Broadway musical that was once turned into a film in the 80s, and is about a political prisoner who shares a cell with the very flamboyant Melina, and the two form an unlikely friendship, often centering around a story that Melina is telling Valentine, the political prisoner, about a movie that they love. And this is where the musical sequences with Jennifer Lopez come into play. And the movie takes place during the 80s in Argentina during a military dictatorship. I had never experienced this story before, and I really enjoyed the characters. I loved the chemistry between the two leads. Both characters were very complex and they felt real to me, well explored. It was just one of those relationships on screen where I was dying for the characters to come together and get to know more about each other and bond. And so that alone was more than enough to keep me engaged throughout this movie. And the lead performers here are excellent. Tonatina as Melina really owns the movie. This actor really captured the beautiful spirit of this character. And I really like Diego Luna as Valentine, who balances out Tonatia's character quite well. A more quiet and heady man. And they had a lot of interesting ideas to exchange with each other about the role that art can play in our lives, the necessity of escapism. There's a lot of queer themes as well here, and political themes. It sometimes feels like the film is trying to juggle too many ideas here, and I didn't feel that each one had a super satisfying or memorable payoff. It almost felt like the movie needed to be 3 hours in order to fully dive into and explore each theme. It wasn't quite as impactful as I wanted it to be for that reason. But you know, we also got to talk about the musical sequences here, which I really enjoyed. They're all shot in an old Hollywood style, which I thought was very welcome. I mean, it's obviously fitting because the character is recounting a film that probably exists in that style. But it was nice to see a director like Bill Condon, who's been involved in films like Dreamgirls in Chicago, harken back to an older style of musicals, one where the sets really do a lot of the talking, and the camera kind of drifts around the set in mediums and wides, using longer takes, and it really proved that this style can still be effective in 2025. And it made me feel there's a bit of a lost art to the shooting style of films now and musicals now, which rely so much on editing. And in this film, the dancing and the singing and the choreography, the sets do so much of the talking, the costumes as well. And that can definitely be enough. Jennifer Lopez is dazzling in these scenes, and I think her work as a dancer really shines here. She's like the embodiment of a movie star. She's a character that exists like in a fantasy, in a movie. Jennifer Lopez certainly captures this big movie star energy. I thought the film was very colorful and it was nicely shot, though I probably would have liked it even more if it was shot on film. It just looks very digital and clean, and maybe especially for those older Hollywood musical sequences, I think shooting in film could have been an extra step that really paid off. But I really enjoyed this film. Mainly I loved the chemistry between the two leads and many of the dazzling set pieces, so I would recommend it. I don't know what's happening with this movie in terms of a release. I mean, the budget is $60 million. It doesn't feel like there's quite the market for this musical. It's not that well known. Even post-Wicked, it seems studios are struggling to see this film as a good investment. It hasn't been picked up yet. I think it may come very quietly at some point later in the year. And I don't think the film is good enough to get Oscar attention. The critic reviews have been pretty underwhelming, although the performances and some of the technical aspects are worthy. You know, if there was a campaign for this film, I could see costumes, production design being kind of there. You know, we saw what happened with The Color Purple, though, and I wouldn't, you know, necessarily predict that it would get in for those. I think Jennifer Lopez may have a campaign going for her here. I personally don't think she needs to be nominated for this. I've heard from other people and I've seen other reviews who are like, Jennifer Lopez needs an Oscar nomination for this role. She's incredible in this movie. And again, like, I saw it more as like dancing, singing, acting in third. You know, if I was to nominate Jennifer Lopez for an Oscar, I would want to see the acting be a little more in front, because we know that she can sing and dance, and this is an Oscar nomination. So that's just my opinion. I don't know if other people are going to share that opinion. Apparently, like, other people don't think that. Whether or not she can get nominated for an Oscar or you know, a Golden Globe or a SAG. You know, we'll see. I guess it's on the table. Tonatia is fantastic, and maybe they could get a lead nomination at the Globes. I also really like Diego Luna, but it doesn't feel like people are singing his praises as much. And again, I don't think that this film has the strength to contend in a whole lot of categories. It might be like just costumes or just Jennifer Lopez at the end of the day, or nothing, but I would give the film a 7 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. What's the most intimate thing a spider has done to you?